Hi, my friend, it's Pat Sloan here. What do you get when you have a blank wall, right? Possibilities. So I promised to put all the critters up there again because I have a few new ones from the last time I did that. And I'll probably take the aqua blocks again and sort of put them in between because it gives us a little bit more fun feel. And those are the only colors that I have. Kind of like the aqua. May not be what I ultimately do, but it's a fun thing. So this is how I'm starting right here. I have got layered out the big ones on the bottom and the smaller ones on top, but I will start with the larger ones. Anytime I'm going to work like this with a lot of different size blocks, whether it's designing or whether it's using a part center and trying to put things up there, I want all the big blocks first because they take up they take up all the space. You know, the big blocks are visually this huge impact plus the actual physical space they take up. So I want to see where they are and sort of balance them out and then start filling in with the next lower size down to the smallest size. So Lisa the unicorn, these are, which ones, these are, I'll just tell you, these are Elizabeth Hartman. They're not all Elizabeth Hartman patterns I'm going to show you. So I'll just say which ones are, what all the patterns are. Okay, I'm babbling. Okay, this is Lisa the unicorn. So because this is such a big block, I would probably like to balance it on the bottom. You know, have that weighted big thing on the bottom. You could be, if you're a very symmetrical person, you might want to put them in the middle and then build around it, kind of like medallion style. I'm a very asymmetrical person, so I prefer a different method. So here is Flo the flamingo. So cute. Now the interesting thing is these animals, a lot of them are facing that direction. Wonder if any of them face this away. So Flo, I prefer them to like be looking in, but Flo isn't doing that, and I'm just going to stick her up here. So we've got, I think that needs a pin. Okay, so we've got that one up there. I don't remember the koala bear's name. There we go. So here's the koala bear. This is the newest member. So once again, facing that way, but it's a bigger block, so I will put the koala here. Okay, now from here, I have a few other sizes that are fairly small. I've got a long one and these guys. So the penguin's pretty chunky. So he's got that sort of bulk to him. So let's put the penguin here. And then I have two long and skinny ones. The llama, we named her Dolly Llama. And then a tulip, which is my pattern. So these all of these up here are Elizabeth Hartman patterns. And okay, and so the tulip is my pattern. So I'll put the tulip here. And then I have the crab, which is Wendy Shepherd's pattern. And this is one we're going to do together with my porch swing fabric. Okay, so where will we put the crab? Maybe we'll just put the crab over here. So there you can see like a menagerie. Oh, look at them. So cute. I'm just going to move that over because I just don't want them all touching. Now, the one thing with the penguin, there's a little extra space. So if I decided like he didn't need to be that wide, I can move him. So let me grab, I have so many aqua blocks now. So nice. Here's my stack of aqua blocks that I sew as I'm sewing other things. So I do them, I have, stacks like this next to my sewing machine. And as I go along, I just sew two together and then sew another one to it until I have 4 across so that I can make a 4x4 block, alternating lights and darks. And I've done bunches of these. So if I'm just going to, okay, I'm not going to think too much. I'm not going to think at all about color placement. I am just going to put them up here so that we can kind of see. Now, if they're all the 4s, so I'll just move that over because otherwise, we can't see. So, what if okay, so if he's up here, Let's put him down here a little bit and maybe put some aqua behind. Like I'll do like this, put the aqua behind and then put Dolly on top so you can kind of get a feel for having the aqua in the middle there. So fun, right? Okay, what do we got up here? So we could do two. Okay, I just have to show you this one. Look at the turtle fabric. I bet that was such a cute fabric. Somebody sent that to me. Remember, a bunch of you sent me some squares, which have been going into these quilts, or going into these blocks. So if I put a few more over under the koala, and they're overlapping, but it's just so that we can get that color feel. And then what I'll do is I'll move the crab up. I'll just let him touch next to the koala for now. Move the crab up so I can put something underneath and then above the crab. And then that's about all I can get without a ladder. And I'll put one next to the crab on the other side. So there we go. Just sort of get a feel there. Very fun. I'm not sure what color would be a different color. You know, gray is interesting, but it could be dull. You know, gray and white. Black and white might be too much. You know, I'd have to do a couple of gray and white blocks and then see what they look like. You know, that is, for me, I'm a very visual person. You know, I prefer to have them up here. I do like the aqua because it's nice and light. You know, it is a happy color. We have to do this one week here coming up. We're going to do aqua teal quilts, just like we did the purple. By the way, your purple has been fantastic. So many gorgeous purple quilts. If you are a purple person, you need to come to the group Quilt Along with Pat Sloan and look. Such a great quilt show. We've decided, the ambassadors and I, we were like chatting going, was way more purple than there was yellow or pink, which we thought was kind of interesting. I think purple is a much loved color by a large group of people. Okay, here we go. So there's a bit more of the aqua to show you. So definitely using that checkerboard. My observation right now is like when these are sort of close like this, my observation is I do need to get probably 2 squares between the blocks so they each float more, and they're not sort of touching like these guys are. You know, I wouldn't do that as a final. I would shove them around. And with, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7, which is a great number. Odd numbers are great. You know, 3, 5, 7, 9. If I did much more, you do this much, I wouldn't pull it out that far on the left. I would sort of try to make it longer here. Like probably take that crab and move it more up to the top, separate the koala and the flamingo so that the penguin could float more, you know, have squares on either side of it, and then get it more in a long quilt so that it could be used like as a laptop. I mean, a laptop, a lap quilt. I don't think we want to use it as a laptop. Oh, okay, that is super fun. That is looking really, really nice. And I love thinking through it. Now, you do have 3 animals. No, 2. There's just 2. 2 animals. That one's his arms are facing this way, but the koala's face is facing us. So you have 2 animals looking this way. It'd be cool to have an animal looking the other way, to the left. All right, so that is a fun little exercise. The other thing I could do was be looking the part center, which is massive and overflowing. This is something that I definitely want to dig into and do a part center quilt. The thing is, there's a lot of different colors, and you know, even if I pull out like, let's say I was going to go with aqua, you know, pull out all the aqua and white sort of blocks. It might just be fun to find a couple from in here and add in, not all of the background like this, because I think you would lose the critters. They would get lost in the patchwork blocks. That's my initial thought anyway. but I could definitely pull out a couple, see if there's a couple blocks that work, and they would be fun to pop in there as kind of like a little surprise. These are the fun things. These are the fun things. And in the future, I'm going to work through these as parts of the video. It's just, I have to make that as part of a schedule, like a project on the calendar. So, and I'm also working on the calendar. So the March calendar I will have for you either Monday or Tuesday, depending on when it's done, but before March 1st. So always before March 1st. Okay, so I have a couple other things. I was working on the half square triangles, trimming them down for the Jolly Bar border, the bonus border. So did a little video when I was doing that at the end of the day. Let's take a look. It is the end of the day on Thursday, and I thought, you know, I'm just going to get these Jolly Bar cutaway half square triangles out and do the trimming for them so that I am ready for that border, because then I can be sewing these as I'm sewing other things and have them over by the machine, because if they're in my bag just the wrong size, they're not getting ready for the quilt. So the border, so you'll create these as you're making all your blocks. So if you were sewing them together, or at least you kept them, you have them now to use. And the border is a nice size border. It is 6 inches wide, because we're going to trim these down. And so you can see it creates a 78 by 96 quilt, which will be really, really nice size. It's going to fit most people, really comfy. So let's take a look at what that diamond looks like. So you will have 4 of them together to create this, you know, diamond feel like here. So we go. There we go. So, and then I'm using the background. That's my background color, and that border sections in between that will be the background color. So I mean, you could do it other ways. I mean, you could have it like this as well. You know, it would just give a different look. But I wanted these floating diamonds along the border, so that's what we'll have. This stack is already trimmed. They're not pressed, but I'll be able to go over there and press them. You know, just take a little break, press them, and I want to show you the rest. The rest need trimmed. Now the trimming I'm doing with the Quilt in a Day ruler again, and to make a 6-inch border, they have to be trimmed to 3.5. There's excess, and I know that's going to kill a few of you. You're going to be like, oh, it's so wasteful. But you know, this is all the waste. This not a ton. I can live with that myself. If you made it wider, your border would be wider, and I felt like it would just be too wide and out of balance. Like if I was going to make them a 4-inch, which would be 4-inch would be, you know, you can't do 4.5 because they're not all going to make it to 4.5, but 4-inch. But then you're talking about an 8-inch border, and that just seems too wide. So there we go. We're going to have a little bit of waste. So you can do it 2 ways. You can just stick it. It doesn't really matter where you put it. I got to sort of putting it to the left and having the strip, because for those of you who are super frugal, you could sew these together. You really could. You could sew all these together if you are a really frugal person and you wanted to do that. Okay, just throwing that out there. I'm not doing that, but you could. And then I'm doing the little dog ears, trimming them off, and then these go in the trimmed pile. So I only have this much left. And then I will be ready. I will be ready to get them pressed, get them all pressed, and then I'll be ready to sort of assemble them by color. We'll talk about that next Jolly Bar week. Next Jolly Bar day, this coming week, I will put those the groups of 4 together so that I can sew them together as I'm doing other things. So I want this as my start and stop project, because once I've got it there next to the sewing machine, it'll just go right into motion and I won't have to think about it. But the first step was to get it out of the project bin and get them trimmed. So there you go. That's how I got these going. Maybe you want to do that too. So they're all trimmed now. I will press them, and the next thing will be to group them into 4s so that I can sew all of those diamond units up and have them ready to go. That would be really nice, really nice. And so probably the next thing is, like, as a extra, as I will cut all the strips to go between them for the bonus border. Just have to keep moving projects along right now. Okay, we also are almost at 93,000 quilters in the group. It's just like 75 more people. It's the time that I'm filming this, 75 more people. And when we get to 93,000, I'll bring the quilt out again that I'm going to give away at 95,000, and we'll talk a bit more about it, and I'll show you the quilting on it. So hopefully that'll be in the next day or so. So I had a few Q&A here. Let's see. One was, what's it? Okay, so there was a bunch of sort of questions about the machine binding I showed you, and one of them that I just want to emphasize, because they kind of all sort of result in this, is that you need to practice it. Binding by machine is something that you will have to do and practice, because the first time you try it, it is not going to be wonderful. It may be really crappy because it's a brand new technique to you. You haven't done all of that before. You've done a similar thing by sewing it on, but not pulling it to cover up the seam allowance and all that kind of stuff, not having to maneuver the corner with the miter on the machine. All of that's a new technique for you. I recommend, if you've got some panels, quilt your panels, then bind the panels, because you're not putting any extra work into it. Often your panels are going to be maybe either just a wall hanging for yourself, or maybe they're a baby quilt, so you're going to wash it, and that's going to crinkle up the quilt and the binding, and it'll all sort of, any imperfections disappear when you do that. But use your panels as your practice for binding. That is an excellent way to do that. Or if you happen to have a charity quilt that you're going to wash, because washing just does really help with those imperfections of everything. Okay, a couple other Q&A. The Harrisonburg patterns are showing out of stock right now because the museum took them to a show, took all the physical patterns to a show with them, but they've ordered more. So just check back, and the patterns should be in the shop and at the museum in the next few days. Also on the Harrisonburg, I had questions, could it be done with a layer cake? Well, that kind of depends on how you're going to approach your quilt. It's written kind of for fat quarters, but if you're going scrappy, it's basically, if you're going to take, here, let me get the block. Got it over here. So like this is written so that if you're using fat quarters, I can get all of these shapes and all of these shapes, and do multiple blocks with the same piece of fabric. If you have a layer cake, a 10-inch square doesn't go very far. It is going to limit you. But if you have a lot of 10-inch squares, you can certainly do the whole quilt really scrappy, like Wendy's quilt. And so here's a picture of Wendy's blocks, which are, every piece is different. This is different than this, than this, than this, than the backgrounds. They're all different. That's a 100% scrappy quilt. So that would be, I can't really say, yes, you can use 10-inch squares, but you're going to need more of them. You can't just use one package. That won't make it. So there you go. So hopefully that helps. And I had questions if my porch swing fabric, the one I did the crab here with, the brand new fabric porch swing, if there is a wide back, and not for this line. They don't do wide backs for every line, and so there is none for this line. But you can use my Harmony, or you could use something from, another basics wide back. You'll find lots of things out there that'll work with it. Okay, I think this is it for today. Just a little bit of fun over here with what we're doing. So excited to see them up there. And if you have other suggestions for the setting color, shoot them to me. Pink, yellow, really pale, something really pale. You could, they could be all lights. They could be all shades of creams and whites and lights. That would be another way to do it without having that secondary color. The one thing is I have these blocks, which is a bonus that I have them. All right, my friend, I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.